Hey guys, happy Thursday. I know that I am quite late this morning. I know it's not 11 o'clock, it's 11:38 or something like that. But if you are following along on my personal stuff, we had a plumbing leak recently, and so now we're having to do some bathroom renovations. So this morning we had to do some things that had to do with that. So I'm a little late, sorry about that, but nonetheless, I am here. So welcome. Thank you guys for jumping on for today's Bless This Nest. Today's topic is super exciting because I'm going to share with you guys some advice, particularly to sellers based off of the last 3 houses that I toured over the weekend. So if you haven't caught, this month's theme is kind of seller oriented just because we are kind of in the seller market with the summertime and everything like that. So it's super relevant. But even if you're a buyer, it's good to watch these videos because I think it will help you with your buying experience too. So as you're touring houses, you know, things that you will notice as you're walking through the homes, and things to maybe look past, because some of these are definitely things that sellers do that don't necessarily stay with the house that you're looking to purchase. So hopefully it is relevant to you guys as well. But first of all, cheers. I'm on my 2nd cup of coffee. So it is one of those mornings. And by the way, I drink my coffee black now. It took me many years to get to that point. Before it was like tons of creamer and sugar and everything else. So I was thinking about it this morning and I'm like, I finally have trained myself to where black coffee is my go-to. So anyways, good morning guys. I'm Mariana Pearson. I own Modern Nest Real Estate Group, the page that you are following. So if you're joining us for the very first time, I always like to know who you are, where you're from, where you're watching us from, because this page has over 38,000 followers or likes or whatever, which is crazy. We had some posts that went viral, and so since then this page has just blown up, which has been really awesome for us and our business and for us locally and everything else. But I always like to know where people are watching from. So if you are watching, please comment at least your state or city if you'd like, just so I kind of see where you're from and get to know you. So again, today's topic is 3 things, or really it's not 3 things, but it's tips that I can give you guys based off of the 3 last homes that I saw over the weekend. As I was going through them, I was making mental notes because I was like, okay, this is a great example for what I need to be telling my sellers to do when they list their home. I also love to take buyers with me who are also looking to sell their house, like if they're trying to sell their house and buy a new home. Sometimes we'll go start to look at homes before we list their home. So I can give them an idea, and without me even having to tell them, look, I told you you're gonna have to get rid of all the, the kid toys and everything else. They can actually physically see as they're walking through these homes that we're touring for them to buy, what they're noticing about the homes that are on the market. So they get an idea of what they need to do to prep their home. So always a great idea or great tip, or going to open houses or model homes or anything like that. If you guys are ever looking to sell your house, definitely helps to go tour some homes that are currently on the market. So with all that, if you are looking to sell, this is a great tip for you guys. So hopefully you guys learned something. But then one of the things that I also do on my listing appointments is when I first walk in through the door, I ask my sellers, hey, do you mind if I walk through the home without you? Because I want to know what a buyer is going to see immediately when they walk through their home. If you have a seller walking through the home with you, they're pointing everything out. There's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's this little, this over here, this crack, and oh, we'll fix this. I want to be able to walk through the home, make my notes, what a buyer who's walking through the home for the very first time is going to comment on, or what they're going to say. So when we sit back down and we talk, these are usually the things that I'm touching, like, hey, I noticed there's a settlement crack in this corner over here by the closet. Like, we need to get that fixed because that was something I noticed right away as soon as I walked in the home, so on. So always helpful to have that conversation with your agent and letting them go through without you. So, all right, I'm just going to jump into it because, by the way, I've got an appointment at 12, or a call at 12. So trying to get through this in a timely manner as well. So my advice, number 1, when I was walking through home number 1, is deep cleaning your house. If you've been following along with the Seller Home Boot Camp last month, I talked about this a lot, how far a deep clean can go. So whether you're deep cleaning the home or you're hiring someone to deep clean the home, which I highly recommend, and usually when I'm on a listing appointment, if I think the home looks great, I wouldn't suggest making any changes. If I say, hey, we're going to hire someone to clean your home, it is something that I'm going to expect it gets done, because it's such a great, it's a great way to invest your money, and it's so worth it that it's really just going to freshen the look of your house. It's going to let the buyer see your home in its best light. And so hiring someone to do a deep clean is super important. So while we were touring home number 1, I was noticing that they did not clean their home or deep clean their home before listing. Now, it wasn't like so dirty that when I walked in it was obvious, but it was things like there was fingerprints on the kitchen countertops or the cabinets. The carpets really needed to be shampooed, so that's usually a big one. There was hair, which this is something that hopefully everyone's taking care of. There was like facial hair in the sink in the master bedroom or bathroom. So they noticed that. My buyers were like, oh, like there's hair all in here. And it was like pretty clear that it was in there. So things like that, the baseboards, the blinds, things like that you don't notice on a daily basis as maybe being slightly dirty, your buyers that go through your house are going to pick up on that. And so we really noticed this in home number 1. And of course, this can be overlooked. Like a dirty home doesn't stay or have to stay that way, right? Like when you buy your home or you buy this house, you can get it deep cleaned afterwards if it's something that totally bothers you. But I'm looking for advice to give my sellers to, again, just eliminate as much of that thinking from buyers as possible, because they don't need to be thinking, oh, when we buy this house, we're going to have to spend money on getting it cleaned and we're gonna have to do this and that. So we wanna show it in its best light. So getting that deep clean is super important. Unless it's like a foreclosure or something like that, for example, or an investment property, I don't suggest we clean those just because they're not meant to be like super nice or anything like that. But if you are not a foreclosure, you're not an investment property or anything like that, you should be deep cleaning the home, whether you're coming in and you're deep cleaning or you're hiring someone to deep clean the home. Otherwise, you're really just decreasing the value of your home. And even though that may not be like actually decreasing, like it's not something an appraiser would like give you a deduction on your price, but you're missing out on buyer opportunity because buyers are paying attention to that. So just keep that in mind. Another reason why the deep clean is so important is because I've had several buyers say, and even I agree with this, is if they come in and the home itself like has the updates, it's a great home, but it's dirty or it's messy or it just doesn't look like it was well cared for, then they're also thinking, what else did they not care for? That's more major, like the AC or the roof or the foundation or whatever it is that could be a big expense for the buyer in the long run. So just eliminating, again, that thinking. So when they're walking in, they're not thinking, oh man, this house is dirty. They're thinking, wow, I can picture myself living here. I can picture myself, cooking out in the backyard or whatever it is, instead of thinking, okay, this home is not clean. I don't want to be here anymore. So what we learned from house number 1 is to clean your house. So clean it like Monica Geller style, right? So making sure you're getting in everywhere and it is super clean. So that is my tip number 1. Tip number 2, or the second thing I learned from house number 2 was to remove outdated furniture or decor style, whatever. So again, this is not something that obviously stays with the home. So like the furniture, for example, is going to leave the house, right? Or the style or the design throughout the home can be changed. But when you're listing your home for sale, we want to be able to create a very neutral space for our buyers. So when they're walking in, they're able to picture themselves in the home and picture their own furniture in the home, and all that. We don't want them focusing so much on the outdated parts of the home. So there's some simple things that you can be doing as you are getting your home ready for the market, such as staging. So like staging is one of those things, for example, where if you have an outdated couch, we may come in and we're going to throw like a seafoam blue throw blanket on top of that couch, just so it kind of takes away from the couch itself, but maybe adds some like color and freshness and modern colors and everything else. So staging is one of the things that you can do. The second thing that you could do is painting the house. So paint goes a really long way. It's one of the least expensive things that most buyers can do. Sellers can do in order to get the most money for their house. So I suggest that. And then flooring. So flooring is another one. So as we were walking through house number 2, what we were noticing was that the home was in great condition. It was well cared for. It was very clean. It was great home. It was in a great location. They actually really liked this home, but everything was screaming like this is the 90s, right? Like it had the 90s carpet. It still had the trim, like the wallpaper trim that goes around the ceiling, like in the kitchen. So like that was still intact with like the vines, like the grapefruit vines grapevines and all that kind of stuff. So, which is totally 90s, like it was a big thing then and everything else. And if that's your style and you love it and you love having the bordered wallpaper, that's great, like do that in your home. But when you plan to list the home, one of the easiest things and one of the things that I would suggest before you list it is remove that wallpaper and give it a fresh coat of paint. I also suggest even if you have a bunch of different paint colors throughout, like that are definitely screaming, different decade, like cherry red was really popular at one point. Now I can't tell you the last time I saw a red wall in any new construction homes. So painting it all one color. So we talked about that in neutral paint colors. Like what we did when we came into the house is we painted all one color because it was red, it was yellow. We had Batman theme in one bedroom. We had Texas Rangers theme in the other, which my husband wanted to keep, but no, we did all one color. So that was something that we learned from house number 2. Same thing with like carpet. So outdated furniture, removing what you can of the outdated furniture. Carpeting, if you can't replace it, I mean, if you go wall to wall carpeting throughout your whole house, like you walk in and it's carpet all the way from there to the, well, of course there might be some tile. Like we don't see a whole lot of carpeting anymore. So replacing that either with new carpet, first of all, if that's within budget, or replacing it for there's some really nice vinyl nowadays, and it's less expensive than coming in and doing wood floors or anything like that. So definitely think that is well worth it for you to do, and that's something we notice a lot in home number 2. So again, ultimately whatever you can do to make it easier for you to sell your home so you're not sitting on the market and buyers aren't paying attention to those types of things. So what we learned from house number 2 was, yes, take care of your home, of course, but remove anything that's super outdated. So that is my tip number 2. Number 3 is highlighting the home's best features. So home number 3 did an awesome job with doing this. When we came in, there was a couple things that I noted that I want to keep in mind, or that you want to keep in mind, and I wanted to share with you guys for when you're selling your house. The first was they put out like a little binder folder that had all the information about the home, which we do on our listings as well. But it had a full list of all the mechanicals. So like the age of the roof, the age of the AC, the age of the furnace, the age of, the appliances. That is super helpful because you're highlighting the best features of the home. So one of the things we do is I ask for any updates that you made in the last 5 years, because we're going to put a list and highlight those features. So when buyers are looking at your home compared to another home, they're able to see when the actual age of those things are and that they're newer, were done within the last 5 years. So it really just highlights that home over others. And buyers, typically, they want to know that type of stuff. So they're usually asking like, hey, do you know the age of the AC or the roof and things like that? And those are things that buyers, agents, as we're walking through a house, like we can't tell you that unless it was highlighted or brought to our attention. Or we, of course, like call the agent and find out. And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of agents that they don't know when the age or when the roof was replaced. Like they hadn't asked that to their sellers. And I think that's really important to highlight, because that's a big expense. If it's a 30-year-old roof, I mean, that you need a new roof most likely, especially when you live here in Texas and how often we get hailstorms. It probably has hail damage if it's 30 years old. So it just is one of those things that I would say go ahead and just highlight it so they don't even have to ask. They already know, and it's really just bringing out the best features about the home. So the other thing is they, in home number 3, they really upped their staging game. I mean, we went in and it had a pool, so like the water features were running, like the little waterfall was running. They had the patio furniture like arranged really pretty around the pool in one of these locations, with like the pool or the patio cushions and everything else were all out. They even had some like fresh flowers in the middle of the table. There was even a huge like flamingo floaty in the pool, so it just kind of gave this like fun little vibe that you knew when you had your kids there and things like that, that it was going to be a fun place to hang out for your pool parties and whatever else. So they really just highlighted that pool feature because it was such a pretty part of this home that was really what was drawing most of the buyers to that home. So did a great job with staging those things. So for home number 3, let's see. So for home number 3, they did a really good job with, like, again, with highlighting the features of the home and just different things that would draw a buyer to the home, which is so important. So I think that is tip number 3. And then the other thing that I want to share with you guys, that I share with all my sellers, is I actually have put together a checklist that is for your showing prep. It's your showing prep checklist, the things that you need to do right before a showing occurs. So that way it's, again, showing it in its best light. I talked about it more in our our seller boot camp last month, but I'm willing to give that guys to you again. So if you guys are in need of a showing checklist, please let me know. I'm happy to share that with you guys. It's more than just, make sure the dishes are done and the blinds are open and the lights are turned on, but it's creating that experience, like I mentioned before. So when they're walking in, they're seeing the home in its best light. So if you guys want a copy of that, please let me know. I'll send you the link so you guys can get that for free. All right, so let's just quickly recap if you guys are just jumping on the things that I covered today. So here was my advice based on the last 3 homes that I saw, my advice for sellers as I was walking through the last 3 homes. Number 1 was deep clean your home prior to putting it on the market, then clean it consistently as it's still on the market. So before showings, if you got to do a quick mop, keep it clean as you have showings. Number 2, take care of your house. So don't put it on the market with like torn window screens. You don't want a bunch of weeds in the backyard. So take care of your home. Makes a big difference for buyers as they're walking through. Number 3 was remove any outdated furniture and design styles. Or again, you can also, there's some staging tips on how you can cover this. So I'm not saying you need to go out and buy all new furniture, right? But things like adding a new throw over the couch would be a great idea, or putting up some modern decor on top of like an outdated furniture piece. Like those are things that you can do to, again, take attention away from the outdated parts of the home and really just liven and freshen up the home. So that's where staging plays a huge part in listing your home. Number 4, highlight your home's best features. So including like the ages of the appliances, the roof, mechanicals, all that kind of stuff, and really just showing your home space as much as possible to what buyers are going to be drawn to. And number 5, make sure that you request my free home selling prep checklist so that you can learn all the things that I share with my sellers before they have a showing. Makes a huge difference. I never want to have feedback from my buyers that say, well, the home didn't show very well. I don't think I've ever gotten that from most of my sellers because they're pretty, they understand the importance by the time we list the home, how important it is to have the home show ready and just making sure that they are highlighting their home in the best light as possible for when they are on the market. So hopefully you guys learned something today. I hope you always learn something on all of these videos. But if you guys have any other ideas or anything that you guys have seen, I want to know, because I mean, I've walked through so many houses that, again, it gives me great examples of what I, what I can tell my sellers to do or not do. But if you guys have any ideas of what you have seen, actually tell me what you guys have seen that you really liked. So when you walk through a home, what really stood out to you that they did differently than all the other sellers or houses that really just made you go, oh wow, this is an awesome presentation. Like, I loved what they did. I always want to know what others are doing. So if you guys have any tips on that, please share those with me because I would love to know. But anyways, so I hope you guys have an awesome Thursday. I'm like 2 minutes before my next appointment or my call, so I'm gonna jump off of here. But if you guys need anything else from me, or you guys are planning on buying or selling or anything in the next couple months, and you guys have questions about anything with the process, any way that I can help y'all, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can message us. Our phone number is also in the page somewhere, and our email, so you can go and catch us that way as well. Hope you guys have an awesome Thursday. I will see you guys next week.